Hey gang, welcome back to Jade's Garage. Today's video, I'm continuing to work on the radiator modification that I'm doing to Jade. Now, this is a 68 Mustang that had a stock style radiator in it, and I have upgraded to one from allworks. Also, the radiator that I'm using is for a 1970 Mustang. The difference being that the water necks are on opposite sides. So on the 68 version, it would have had both water necks on the passenger side, one at the top, one at the bottom, and I'm now putting one in for a 1970 that has the upper water neck on the right and the lower water neck on the driver's side or the left. So I've already done several videos on this. If you want to, you can go back and look at those. But in this video, I'm going to hopefully get everything wrapped up and do some testing on the radiator itself. So one of the things that I did was I swapped out my original style water neck that I had for a newer version that has a port at the top where you can put in the temperature sensor for the fan switch. Well, I've decided to do some upgrades, let's say. I've gotten feedback from other people that have done a similar project. They've used a similar setup with the radiator, and they pointed out that the problem they had was the thermostat was set for too high a temperature. What that means is if I have a 180 thermostat on this side, or going from the engine, the thermostat reaches temperature at 180 degrees, it opens up and allows fluid to flow, right? Well, the sensor is rated at 165 to 185. So it kicks on at 185 and it shuts off at 165. What they were telling me was with that thermostat setup, it never cooled it down enough to shut it off. So what I'm doing is I'm swapping out the 180 thermostat for a 170 thermostat. Now, there are a variety of ways you can get a 170 thermostat. I just happen to have picked up one from the parts store. This is from Advanced Auto Parts. It is a Motorrad or Motorrad 328-170 thermostat. This was actually for a Honda. Now, does that make a difference? I don't think so. I don't think the car cares what it's from. But I was looking for one that was the same as what was in the car, and I couldn't find any on the shelf when I was at the parts store. So if I take this water neck and I insert this, and I insert this into the water neck or the recessed area, it fits. It fits fine, and I don't think it's going to be any conflict. There are other ones of these out there. So if you're looking for a 170, I've heard you can go to Jade's and different aftermarket suppliers and pick up one of these. I just happen to have picked this up at Advanced Auto Parts. So I'm going to install this thermostat, reseal everything, add my antifreeze, and do some testing and see how well this works. Now, of course, in the previous videos, I did all of the installation, putting in the radiator, making a bracket to hold the radiator at the bottom. I modified this upper bracket to fit around this radiator. I did change it out to a 1970 water pump, so it's a little bit different than the normal configuration. That puts the water neck down on the driver's side. In doing so, I had to shim out the brackets for the AC setup and the power steering, and also for the alternator. Now, one concern I had, or somebody had mentioned, was whether the pulleys lined up for the water pump. And technically, it's a little pump. The pump is just slightly forward from the pulley on the crankshaft. I don't know how well you can see that. But I think whenever I had the original setup, the pulleys were actually slightly back with a 68. I don't know that it's going to make much difference. We're going to find out. Also, I have wired up the solenoids, and I want to show you this. If I connect power to the battery, just to show you, I have added a secondary switch to turn the fans on. Basically, I have a toggle switch hidden down here. I say hidden, it's pretty obvious if you look for it. But if I turn the key on and I flip the switch, you can hear the fans kick on. Basically, this is just in case I want to run the AC. I can flip the AC and flip this switch, and I know that I have fans pulling air through the condenser. You know, since I've removed this new water neck that I talked about that has the thermostat in it, or the sensor in it, I noticed something else. Inside where this transitions, right there, there's a ridge. Now, could that be important? Maybe. Because I can easily, I mean, if I try to slide my finger across that, it snags on it. I think I'm going to clean that up a little bit. I may just take a file and work that edge down and try to smooth that little ridge off. You can see it there when the light hits it on this side. Just enough to maybe slow down some fluid. Might be worth cleaning up. So here's what I'm using to clean this up. This is a rotary file. This one we refer to as a Christmas tree shape. And all I'm doing is getting down inside of that cavity. And taking off that edge. Already a lot better. You get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to fire up the engine. I'm going to have to open up the back door and have a fan blowing to try to keep the fumes out of here. But I'm going to let it run, get warmed up, and see what happens with the temperature sensor. And also I want to use that laser temperature gun and see what the temperatures are along the radiator. So let's fire it up. It's always a lot faster if you connect the battery terminal. Not going to start on its own. We'll let it get warmed up. Okay. The temperature inside the car says 180 on that gauge right there. So if that's the case, then it should be 180 at the sensor behind the distributor. That's reading 139. So I'm not sure that gauge is right. 142, 145. Okay, up here at the water neck, at the neck itself, I'm reading 136. Well, the fans have kicked on. I can hear them running. I also see a little bit of fluid pretty warm. Now, I don't know why this isn't showing what I would say is the right temperature. That aluminum is showing 78, 80, 89 degrees, 95, let's say 92. Okay, there it's getting better. So the fans are on. They're running. Here. So there's 162 and a half at the water, the intake manifold. Water neck, 143, 144. Hose, 140. And again, it's hard to get a good reading off the aluminum, but there's 140. So that's good. And that overflow could be just a little bit of, too much fluid in there for expansion. 124 at the seam there, 12 degrees, 118. 120. So the fans are on, so that tells me at least that the thermal switch is working. Show you. Just trying to blow that out of there. Not enough, just enough to hold that paper towel up there. So, let's see what it's doing on the inside. That's holding steady. 180, 182, something like that. So, I'd say it's working. At least they're doing what they're supposed to do. Looks like the fan belts are cycling okay. I was worried about that, but the alignment seems to have worked out close enough that it's not an issue. It'll get cool enough that it'll shut those fans off. I really don't know, but we know that it works. Well, it looks like everything is working. I don't have any fluid leaks that I can see. I had a little bit come out of the overflow. I cleaned that off and it looks fine. The fans were doing what they were supposed to do. The temperature in the car, now I've shut it off and let it sit, cooling for a little bit. And just to show you, I'll turn the key on. And the fans kick back on, so they're still showing that they've got heat in there. But this is, again, about 180 or so. So that's where it's at. Let me turn that back off. You don't realize those things actually make a good bit of noise. Now you won't hear that when the engine's running, but they do. Anyway, I hope this works out. I don't want to have to dig back into this and do anything else to it. As I said previously, I'm going to work on getting the horns in the car and the grill in the car, and still play with the radio a little. I have some issues with the sound of the radio. So that'll be the end of this video series for this radiator. Now, if you want to look at getting one of these radiators, there will be a link in the description below. This was provided to me by allworks. There are other brands out there. I'm sure they're very similar, but this is what I'm using. At this point, I'm going to say I'm pretty satisfied with what I have. I know when I've driven this car in the past and gone somewhere, even a short distance, and shut it off, antifreeze was coming out of it. It was overheating. At least at this point, it's not doing that. Now granted, the temperature in here right now is about 66, 68 degrees. So that helps as well. I won't be able to do a real test until spring, summer, when the temperatures are really hot, here in Georgia especially. But at this point, I think everything is going to work fine. Now I will point out, if you haven't seen the other videos, go back and watch them. I did do some modifications to the system. The kit came with one relay. I put in a double relay. I also added the connectors so I could disconnect the fans if I wanted to take these out without having to cut wiring. So you can go back and look at those as well. Some good information there, and I hope it helps you if you're trying to make a decision. So with that said, it is December 22nd. That means Christmas is in 3 days. If you haven't done it already, go back to my other video that I posted before this one, where I'm doing a hat giveaway. I'm giving away 5 hats. So go back on that video, leave a comment, a thumbs up and all that, and you're in the drawing. I will do a drawing next week for that. And the one thing I'll point out, I did not mention in that video, that I really can only cover postage for continental US. So if anybody wins overseas, I'm gonna need some help with that, just saying. It's really, really expensive to ship just about anything overseas now. So anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. I want to shout out my patrons who have helped me. They continue to help me making videos, and I thank them very much. If it wasn't for them, I may not be doing videos on YouTube. So if you want to join the team, be part of that, there's a link in the description below. And yeah, that's it. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.